So Al, I was actually unfortunately not able to join the talk earlier, and I don't know if everybody that's in this room listened to your talk. Would you mind just giving a quick overview of like what AMC's expectations would be for this?
Sure, no problem. I'll try to give the same, basically the same 2 minutes, but in about 90 seconds, because we do need to get to that. The board looks like it's going to be a great opportunity. AMC, Air Mobility Command, is every bit the size of a major airline, the size of a major airline pre-COVID. Over 100,000 personnel, about 1,100 aircraft, one flight taking off globally every 6 seconds. I break autonomy into 3 areas for Air Mobility Command. One is, just like most airlines, in a planning and control, we need instantaneous replanning. We need to improve forecasting for where airplanes need to go, what cargo would be in what particular locations, enhanced situational awareness, who is operating out of what locations, and automated warnings. For instance, some of you remember when we had major volcanoes go off and had to reroute flights all through there. That type of autonomous warning of major situations happening in the world. Second area is that when you're talking about 1,100 aircraft and over 100,000 people, you have problems just like any other office, or I should say opportunities like any other office. Local office automation through robotic process automation and low-code solutions. We have the overall need to transform all of our data into information so that we can better act upon it. And then specifically for us, even more so for Air Mobility Command than a typical airline, we fly into all parts of the world, sometimes delivering humanitarian relief right after a disaster. We need to know that we have the right spares with us at that very moment. Otherwise, you break an airplane where you've already got a broken city because of a humanitarian issue. The third area where I see autonomy is our global mobility needs. When you talk 100,000 personnel and over 1,100 aircraft, there are plenty of opportunities for autonomous cargo loading, autonomous ground operations, just how you service the airplane, autonomous flight operations, so that maybe some of the dull and routine types of jobs can be done autonomously, so that our pilots and co-pilots can use their great thinking power for other ways to project our logistics. And then autonomous base defense. If you're paying attention to just UAVs that this air community is interested in, we need to start moving toward autonomous defense against those types of things. So those are some of the 3 main areas I would say: autonomy, planning, and control, autonomy in operations, and autonomy in the office. It would all be great help to Air Mobility Command, and frankly, most of them would transfer straight over to an airline or other office types of operations.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think it's afternoon now officially. Maybe not, actually, still morning. I apologize. I'm geographically insensitive here. Purpose here is to really kind of scratch our head and think about how should AFWERX step in the autonomous realm, and what can AFWERX do, designing a new prime to facilitate the development of autonomy, in general, and in particular autonomy that would be beneficial to both the Air Force and the commercial sector. So, what can we do as a Department of the Air Force to facilitate the growth of this industry, of a very important industrial sector, what applications do you have in mind? So we have some applications in mind, and I'll yield the floor to my colleague Al Lewis in a few seconds here. I can go over some of the things that in his command, the Air Mobility Command, they are seeing a need, and we chose that topic because we see a very strong potential overlap with the commercial sector there. But we're not limited to that. We are really interested in autonomy throughout the Air Force's job, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts on how, what is missing, what can we do better, and what focus effort could AFWERX lead, with Ben on that special sector. Dave, if you're okay, or you can transition to Al, or Al, you have the floor.
All you, Al.
Thanks. Again, Al Lewis, I'm the Chief Scientist for Air Mobility Command. I'll take the same presentation I gave the last time and tweak it a little bit because we had two great questions, and I'll try to answer those in the same time. When you think Air Mobility Command, I want you to think every bit as big as the largest airline in the world, the largest airline pre-COVID. Over 100,000 personnel, about 1,100 aircraft, one flight every 6 seconds. When I think of autonomy with Air Mobility Command, I break it apart into 3 areas. 1, autonomy in planning and control. 2, autonomy in the office. And 3, autonomy in operations. When I talk about autonomy and planning and control, I think just like most airlines, instantaneous reroute the cargo and emissions to other airplanes that are working. Improved forecasting. How do we better know when an entire unit of Army Brigade Combat Team needs to go forward? What is it that they normally need with their support so we can budget those airplanes ahead of time? Enhanced situational awareness and automated warnings, such as when a volcano erupts, what are the flights that are going to be affected and how do we reroute those? Then when you talk about autonomy in the office, if we're looking at over 100,000 personnel, we're looking at all the same types of autonomy and office type tasks that any other large organization does. Robotic process automation, low code solutions, global spares management. I need to be able to make certain that I'm thinking ahead. Do I have the right spare part in the right remote part of the world when I'm going to go and deliver humanitarian relief there? And then third, the autonomy to transform data into information. There were a couple of questions about swarms and about microsecond automation. Those are also indeed important, very important parts, and that might get to where I would go with our global mobility needs. We need autonomous cargo loading to cut down on the number of people that we have to take forward so that you're not taking a cargo loading person, but maybe the same equipment that he would have used is now autonomous. We need autonomous ground operation just for the overall servicing of the aircraft. Autonomous flight operations. One of you asked about swarming technology. Well, if you think about a F-15 today, it has weapons on it, it has sensors on it, it has a decision maker, and it maybe has drop tanks with gas. What if all of those was a different function of a different piece of the swarm, and how would those cooperate together? In autonomous space defense, I'll use that as an example where microsecond decision making is indeed important, as an adversary might try to, in Afghanistan, we saw adversaries would get close enough to try to put an occasional mortar round into a base location. Instantaneous decision making is critical there. So that's kind of the scale of autonomy that we would like to see in Air Mobility Command. In most cases, these are technologies that immediately can be pulled into a commercial realm with commercial applicability. In some cases, maybe refined a little bit within the DoD and then have commercial applicability. And we look forward to partnering with the commercial world on it.